Welcome to the Oh So Spurs podcast. Back by popular request is Rob Daly. How are you, Rob?
I'm good, Jim. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks. I'm really excited for the new era which is upon us, and looking forward to diving under the hood a little bit about some of the new characters coming through the door that you've had the pleasure of interviewing and being around. But should we start there? Because you did the interviews for Thomas Frank and Mohammed Kudus. Starting with Frank, what did you make of his personality, and what does he seem to be like as a person?
Yeah, I mean, he was extremely warm and very likeable, and was kind of as described to me by multiple people. You know, people aren't probably aware that outside my Tottenham commentary life, I have another commentary life where I work in lots of different places, but I'm not quite on the Premier League beat meeting managers all the time that others are. So when Thomas Frank got appointed and I got the call to say, can you come do the first interview with him? Then I, spoke to a few people and just wanted to get a read of what he'd be like. And every single person spoke to guys from Match of the Day and Sky and everything. And they were all just so glowing about him as not only as an interviewee, but as a person that they'd always had. And also that he's a compelling listen, that he'll always say really interesting things and thought through things, and he's authentic. And then turned up at the training ground, forget what day it was, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he was exactly as everyone had said. He was going around the premises trying to remember everybody's name, production staff, me, everything. Good luck to him if he could remember even a quarter of them. And then we kind of had 15 minutes with him, because he was extremely busy. He was just kind of through the door, going around the training ground, I'm sure just getting his bearings as well at Hotspur Way, because it's an extraordinary facility. So we had 15 minutes with him before he did his photos and everything, and he was just really engaging and thoughtful and really purposeful with his words. I mean, the fans were gagging to hear from him. It was becoming increasingly apparent, and then when the interview dropped that day, it was kind of a relief that was out there and people could hear what he had to say. But I think he was really, really interesting. I think he gave a fantastic answer on building on the success of Ange Postecoglou and the team last season. And so, I came away from it not only on a personal level, because, I'll have to work, interview him post-home games and stuff like that, but on a coaching level as well, I just really came away thinking this is going to be really exciting, interesting. So, yeah, and I like the stuff he's put together too.
He comes across really calm and measured. Like, if there's something really extreme going on in a corner over there, he would just remain quite stoic in his principles.
Yeah, he speaks about that. He says he doesn't really let himself. He said he used to a little bit, and he can go off at the players if he needs to, but he is about being level. He has this sort of 24-hour rule about letting himself be angry or upset about a result or whatever, and then it's boom, next game. And he's going to need that, because the games are going to be, Tottenham are going to be playing every 3 or 4 days. So there's not going to be too much time to dwell on it. And the other thing I thought was really interesting, because he's known as a manager who, I think would be fair to say, nurtures young talent, that can bring new talent as well to the Premier League and consolidate them. And I asked him about that in the interview, about the young players. And I was referring specifically to the younger group of first teamers rather than academy players specifically in that question. So Wilson, Odegaard, Lucas Berval, Archie, Matisse, whoever. But he was really keen to stress that he went out of his way, it felt like, to make sure that it was apparent that the senior players were important and can be improved upon too, that there's stuff he can do with them. So it felt like such an inclusive message for the group, if they heard it, all on a beach somewhere in Greece, watching on their phones. I think it was only a couple of injured first team players down at the training ground that day. That they get the idea that he's a head coach for everybody.
Yeah. And I must say, when I saw and by the way, it's been brilliant from the club lately, the media work, us getting a little bit of insight into the characters around the club has been absolutely awesome. And we'll touch on the documentary around the Bilbao win later, and your experience around that. So he did seem a little bit like, oh my gosh, at the facilities, this is amazing. Did you get the same vibe when you
No,
went
I didn't. He felt very at home. It's obviously different to Brentford. It's obviously another level up. But I think he was just processing the space available to him and what they're going to work with and how they're going to work. He's extremely detailed. I did not get the impression he was someone like, wow, this is incredible. I think he knew, did I ask him if he'd been before?
You did. I think Well, someone did. I remember that question being asked, and he
I
said
might
he
have
had
done.
for once for some
Yeah,
reason.
unless I'm mixing this up with another interview, he'd been to the facility before, but no, he looked like someone just ready to get going.
Yeah.
That was kind of the vibe I got off of him, and he was just working out. It's quite big. There's loads of corridors and tunnels and things. I literally don't know. I can barely get around it, so I
I was
don't bother.
going to ask the scale of it because it seems enormous. There's golf buggies taking people around between
Yeah,
buildings, and you can imagine like, oh, now we'll go to your office expecting to have a quick walk, and no, you have to hop onto a
yeah.
vehicle to get there.
Well, when you arrive at the training ground, there's the academy stuff on the left. That's where you first come in, and then there's a kind of bit through to the first team, which just has an extraordinary scale, really, when you go through to that. And that's where our TV facilities are, actually, the studio and everything that you might ever see if you ever watch any of the inside Spurs stuff on Spurs Play. Our studio is kind of attached to the first team facility. So, no, it's an amazing place to work. And I think as well, when you're signing players or anyone and just showing them that, if there's a tipping thing, this is where you're going to work every day. Because this,
Yeah.
for a footballer, this is their office. This is where they're going to be every day. It is important. It's a massive thing in Spurs' favour.
And his staff as well, he's brought in quite a lot. Have you had a chance to meet many of them? Do they seem of a similar kind of culture to Thomas?
I haven't met them yet. I've only been down to the training ground a couple of times. I'm actually not down there. I'm barely ever down there, in truth. So I wouldn't want people coming in here thinking I'm some, you know,
Doing legs in the
insider or
pub?
something. No, I'm barely down there. I'm barely down there for the odd TV show thing we make or whatever. The only one Dean Brill interviewed a little while ago, who's now got this, who's assistant first team goalkeeping coach. Dean's a very good guy, gets on well with Vic. He's done stuff with Vic and the youth players, with Vicario and the youth players, the youth goalkeepers from his work there as a youth goalkeeper coach. Stuart Lewis, who everyone knows as the extremely successful under-18 coach, who's done a fantastic job. He's going to be this kind of, I'm guessing, Stuart's a great guy as well, a bridging kind of character from under-18s, under-21s to the first team.
Yeah.
His first team transitional coach, something like that. And then Matt Wells. So only the guys who are pre-existing, and I'm really happy that Matt's sticking about too, because he loves the football club. He's a fascinating coach to speak to about tactics, and we've done a couple of TV things with him. We did a really long podcast with him last year, me, Ben, and who was it? It might have been me, Ben, and Jenna or Marzi, Jenna Scalacci or Marzi, I can't remember. But he was just such a compelling listen. It might have been Brad Allen, actually, who's worked with. So yeah, I'm really encouraged, and the fact he's got familiar names in there too is really.
Yeah, Matt's one of those. You, as fans, you have no idea of many of the staff, but Matt's name always comes up as someone that all the fans are like, he's so talented. We hope he stays at Spurs for a long time. What an interesting guy. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that he's. Yeah, it does sound like that's true. And
Me too.
Another person that you have met around Hotspur Way is Mohammed Kudus, who's recently joined. What did he seem like as a person?
Yeah, very humble, very calm, and very confident. He just seemed very friendly. Like he was very happy. I was in there the day he signed everything. They did all the media stuff around him anyway. Did the interview with him at the end of all his pictures and everything. And it was clear that I don't know what other clubs were in for him or what was happening, but this was the move he really wanted. And actually, again, it's another one of those, can you come down today? It's happening. You try and scramble and read as much as you can and watch as much as you can about the player to try and understand what he's like. If you learn anything about his background, the magnitude of making that move from West Ham to Spurs and then making the move up as well back into the Champions League. He played briefly in the Champions League for Ajax. Doesn't faze him at all. He was going to do what he needed to get to where he wants to be. So really excited to see what he's going to bring to the team. A different profile of forward. There's a fair few forwards at the club now. But yeah, just seemed like another good egg. And I think given the profile of player that we all know Thomas Frank wants, it's no surprise.
It must be interesting though, because it must be a bit like being a firefighter on call for you sometimes. You might just be, having a shower and suddenly your phone's going off. You've got 30 minutes to get here. Someone's arriving.
It's not that dramatic. It's normally it's happening today or something like that, maybe. But this is, I actually barely do this. I mean, this would be more Ben Haynes. I imagine most of your listeners, viewers would know Ben, but he's away at the Women's Euros at the moment working for the BBC. So it's kind of why I've ended up doing these two recent interviews. I don't really generally for the club do this stuff. So it's been on a personal level, a nice little bit of insight for me too, as to how these things work. And I'll tell you, I couldn't be more impressed with the production team of the football club. I mean, you mentioned that people have really enjoyed, probably really since Bilbao to now, the content the club are putting out is just really good. I'd love people to see the hour that the media and production team have had with Kudus. It was like the most well-orchestrated West End production in terms of this picture, white shirt, this background, this, hold this flag, right, that one's done, this pose, that, right, this station moves to another station. We only had an hour with him, which is why I had pretty strict interview limit before he had to go do something else. He was just extraordinarily busy. And what the club do and what the production team and the media team and the comms team do to make that hour, like if you saw any of all that stuff that was out from Kudus happened in 60 minutes. It was crazy. It was, and I was just sat back because it wasn't really like the day I was there with Thomas. It wasn't really like that. It was more relaxed and there wasn't really anyone around the training ground. This was just like, right, they had the track they played for him that you may have seen on the behind the scenes thing. They had I assume it was his favourite music playing. They took that boombox to wherever he went and right outside for social. It was just tremendous. I could not praise the people at the football club enough. I was just like, whoa, this is so amazing. And then it was my turn to interview him and I was like, oh God, I best not overrun.
Do not mess it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so no, very, very cool. And the stuff they did around Mohammed Kudus' shots with the stars behind and everything, just amazing stuff. So yeah, so look, that's just the media side of things. He's got a whole Premier League and Champions League season ahead of him, but I like chatting to him and excited to see.
Yeah, no, we do really appreciate it. It is amazing how quickly that has to all be turned around and then put onto all the platforms.
Yeah, then they need to edit it and do all the. I don't know how they did it. It was crazy. Yeah, very impressive.
Yeah, well, hopefully you can call some favours for a photo shoot of your own one day, Rob. Don't know.
One day, Jim. One day.
Talking a bit about some amazing work they've done. Actually, I want to get to the Bilbao documentary piece, but just quickly because commenting on the game being around the club, the Europa League final, what was that all like?
It was the most extraordinary 5 days. It was from Bilbao to Brighton. It was just unbelievable. It was unbelievable. I mean, from landing in Bilbao on the Wednesday lunchtime, I flew over with the club legends who turned up at the fan park, and we basically went straight from the airport to the fan park, which was actually, for anyone who's in Bilbao, it was actually all quite small. Everything was kind of walkable, and turn up, legends go on, and the fan park vibe was so interesting because I was like, this really feels like, we were saying to each other, this feels like a set of fans who believe this is it. This is the time. You really got that. It wasn't, look, I didn't go to the fan park in Madrid. I can't speak about the mood, and I'm sure for some of the pure disbelief that the team had got to the Champions League final, not because that group of players didn't deserve it, but because of the circumstances, the injuries, the games, the Ajax City, to get to Madrid for the Liverpool game. This just felt like, this is it. Let's just go out there and do it. And the fans were just unbelievable. And then the game itself, I didn't even know the game was bad until the next day when someone told me.
I didn't either. People keep saying this, but for me, I just sat there with my heart in my mouth for 90 plus minutes, but something was different. And I speak as one of those fans, like you're saying, you could say, I just felt like we were going to do it. Just previously, I've been in so many finals. I go in with, it would be amazing, but for some reason I have this level of doubt inside me we can do it. But that just felt like this is our time. This is going to happen.
Yeah.
And when it did, it was just a mix of disbelief and euphoria that you just can't describe.
Well,
with
it's
words.
almost like in those moments, actually, I feel quite blessed to be alongside someone like Clive. You know what I mean? Clive Allen were out there together and did the game together, and he's just so Spurs. And actually, if you watch back the game on Spurs play, deep into the celebrations before the trophy lift, you can hear, I asked Clive about, what does this mean to you? His son was there, his grandson was there. We all know about his lineage before him and the football club, and just how emotional he was, how much you could feel it, that outpouring, and then it was amazing. And then we had to leave as soon as the trophy lift happened. We had to drop our mics and run to try and get our plane back.
Yeah.
So it was just the funniest, weirdest day. And then obviously the kind of just trying to get back to normal life on Thursday, and then the parade on Friday, which was, I don't need to tell people who were there or who weren't there just how special it was. It was a privilege to host the coverage of it. And it was just this giddy, euphoric few days. And it was only really after the parade that I could go, right, I can have a beer now.
Yeah.
I can enjoy the moment with my colleagues and everything like that, but as to what everyone had achieved over the course of that 72 hours.
Yeah, I was going to ask what the after party was like, but that was one of the questions. But I guess if you were put straight on a plane, you were in
I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I wasn't there. No, I was in and out. I wasn't in and out. I'm devastated. There's all the great footage, and there's James Black's there playing all the songs for the players and everything like. It looked like good fun in the team hotel. But we were back that night, and I just didn't mind at all. I got a lovely sleep at Southend Airport's Travelodge or whatever it was I slept in. So yeah, no, we had our fun at the parade, and then on the Sunday as well. The Sunday was actually really fun as well. Regardless of the result and how that game kind of ended up. It was still another really nice day to celebrate what the team and the football club had achieved.
Yeah, the parade took even the longest serving Spurs fans by surprise, in just the sense that it was a reminder of how many fans we really have, how big we really are as a supporter group, because every inch of concrete was covered with somebody wearing something related to Spurs.
Yeah, and roofs.
Lampposts were climbing. It was
unbelievable. I think I got there. I can't remember what time the parade started. Say it started about 5 o'clock or something like that, didn't it? 5 or 6 o'clock. I think I got to the ground about midday, thinking I'll just get my bearings and get here nice and early, and then there won't be any. It was already by the podium bit, by the M Cafe, rammed.
Yeah.
I was like, what? This doesn't start for ages. And then...
Like Wimbledon, the tents are out a week before.
Exactly. And then the people just kept coming. And there still would have been thousands, I imagine, still in Spain somewhere, still not able to get back. It was extraordinary. Like the whole thing was just, I imagine it surpassed people at the club's expectations. They, club, and credit again to the club for putting that together so swiftly, after the final in essence. I think there had been, obviously you'd put in plans in place for previous finals in case it happened. And then this one happened, and they were ready to roll and delivered an amazing.
Well, if you use Google as reference, and I appreciate this isn't fact, this is just, according to Google, there's 180 million Spurs fans, right? There's 70 million people in the UK. You've got to appreciate that, like you said, how many fans were out there around the world celebrating in their own environments who, aren't from that catchment area or couldn't get a flight over to be a part of that parade. I wonder if you could see everyone.
Oh, it'd be crazy. I mean, I had mates who were in Bilbao, had got back, but had work, who couldn't get out of it, or their partner had said, no, that's it, I'm cutting you off. You spent 3 days getting there, you've taken 2 days getting back. We need to just settle down a second. I've mates like that who were like, oh, I'll get to celebrate the Brighton game. But hopefully on any of the coverage you saw or anything, Ben Haynes was just unbelievable on the bus with the players, like the stuff he was getting out of the players, and the manager was just incredible. And it was all just so sincere, and the players were so happy. It was.
I'd love to have been in his position, hearing what they were saying to each other as well. It must have been.
I don't know if they would have been that coherent, Jim, to be fair. I don't think it would have made a lot of sense.
They looked, that's true.
Yeah.
And then part of that, Spurs put this brilliant documentary together all around the final, all around the journey. Have you seen that? And was there anything in there you picked out in particular that you saw?
I have seen it. We'd kind of stitched together, those bits where I'm in it just to push the narrative along. It's not, I'm in there to just give a touch of context, maybe to each stage if you've seen it. But the best bit is when I'm gone. Really, the best bit is the final 10-15 minutes. And I was watching it back and I was like, this. They had some different shots. There's a new angle of Sarr whipping the ball in that no one had seen before, like a really great shot of the winning goal
Yeah.
that had literally never seen the light of day before. Yeah, just brilliant. And I mean, my favourite moment of the whole run was actually Damola Ajayi's goal and that night against Elfsborg. Obviously, the final was the big one, and the home victory against not Elfsborg. What am I doing? Against Bodo Glimt. That was also special. But that night with Damola scoring that goal and everything was just really special. So it was really nice to watch it back and go, oh yeah, that's how this all panned out. Because it's a long journey. I mean, it isn't just the fact they came through the league phase and won, their round of 16 quarter-final, semi-final. The fact they finished fifth just to get to that stage.
Yeah.
So let's not forget, it was fifth in a season where that wasn't a Champions League spot, just to then go via the Europa League. Like, to me, that seems like the most difficult route to get to the Champions League, rather than some back door. You know what I mean?
Completely agree.
Yeah.
I think that's what, we're going to see other clubs thinking that same way now, perhaps, who are in those other competitions going, actually, I don't need to beat these teams over 38 games. If I can go through this pathway, this is a great way.
Having already done something really impressive to reach the Europa League. So say in the case of Forest now or whoever. So yeah.
Yeah, it's great. And I was going to ask as well around like whether you feel the hangover, maybe hangover is the wrong word because hangovers hurt, but is the vibe of winning that trophy, does it still feel like it's over the members of the club? Do you still feel like you can sense that?
No, it feels to me like the ramp or something like, sorry for the horrific analogy, but something like it's to build upon. It's not like it was great that things happened, like you get married and then maybe the 2 weeks after the wedding or the celebrations you feel a bit glum that it's all over. I don't feel like that's the vibe, but then, I'm not around the players. I'm not around.
Yeah.
And it just personally, it feels like it's actually more, these guys know they can win. And if you look at any great manager talk about teams that go on to win more than one thing, they all talk about that first trophy and its significance psychologically and culturally to the club. I mean, you even look at Chelsea, who still feel in a state of transition, but when they get to a European final, it feels culturally as a club they know what to do. They just win them. They just win those games. So let's see if it's a bit of a psychological shift, not only for the players, but maybe the fans as well, to believe that the team can get things over the line that might lead to more success.
Yeah, there's that old, I think it's a Little Britain episode or something, isn't it, where the guy, Andy, falls, but he's up in the tree. You can almost fall upwards. You find some, and you go, how did you get up there? But some clubs seem to have a history of doing that. They kind of, you're like, oh, they're in trouble, and they go, nope, got another one.
That's United. And look, United, had they won the Europa League, would have won a trophy 3 years in a row. And I think going into the final, personally, it wasn't a case of, it was Bruno Fernandes was the player I thought, it's always him. If it's going to be someone, it's going to be him. So just stop him getting the ball. But, they were down at the United end. They were lifting up things like about previous successes, and this is what the team does. And it was almost like that was what was making me believe Manchester United could win, rather than anything logical.
Yeah, exactly.
About the players.
Before.
Spurs had beaten United every single time. And pretty well that season, and yet you see that and you go, oh yeah, this is what United do. So anyway, let's see if it means more trophies for Spurs down the line.
Hopefully that means we're going to start seeing that happening. Spurs.
Well, I also think it's a really exciting young group.
Yeah.
The young players, I'm buzzing for to watch them develop and to see what Thomas Frank is going to do with them, where he's going to play them. The different systems, it's going to be, we got the first game live on Spurs Play on on Saturday. I can't wait to see what he's going to be doing with the players. If you think back to Ange's first game, the friendly against West Ham in Australia, it was such an eye opener. Like, whoa, this is what he's doing. They lost the game, but were way better than West Ham. And you're like, oh, this is the plan. And I wonder if we'll see that as swiftly with Thomas. It might have been the juxtaposition of, say, let's call it Conte to Ange, to which I don't think there will be such a jarring juxtaposition between Ange and Thomas Frank. But to see if we're going to ascertain some of the ideas pretty quickly about what we want in that first game against Reading.
That is exciting because there's many players as well. You're going, I wonder how he's going to utilise these players, because they could play in multiple roles, and they've played in multiple roles, but how's Frank going to decide to use them?
I think that's only good. I think
Yeah.
Spurs have a lot of versatile forwards in particular. You know,
Yeah.
and players like Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie say, I thought of as wing-backs prior to Ange coming in. And now they can play wing-back or they can play in a back four. It feels like there's so many possibilities in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm buzzing to see what he's going to be doing in those friendlies.
Yeah. Archie Gray, another really, everyone's going,
Archie,
is he going to be
yeah.
a 6, a centre-back,
Yeah.
mix of two, something else? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but just before we wrap up, I had another question I just wanted to ask from one of our listeners as well. About you though, Rob, who was your idol, or is your idol, when it comes to commentary and punditry?
It was Martin Tyler, definitely, growing up.
Yeah.
You know, he just is the voice of, let's call it the Premier League for me. And he was, you know, Sky just, I loved him. I still love him. I got to meet him last season, actually. He was at the Spurs game. I wouldn't be like this normally, but I was a bit nervous to actually go up and have a chat with him. And then my friend Mark Scott, who's on Match of the Day, was like, come on, just come say hello to Martin. And it was just really nice to chat to him. And so, yeah, definitely in terms of diligence of prep, in terms of avoiding cliche, it's really important to me. I just try and say things in a different way a lot. You know, otherwise you might as well be AI. You know what I mean? You might as well have AI commentary on there. So, and those big moments, you know, I love the way he'd deliver big moments. It'd be Martin for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I always remember "drink it in," you know, that famous line.
Yeah, one of the best pieces of commentary of all time, because he didn't say anything, and then he just delivered these little things. Yeah, I've watched that back because I was at that game. I did that game, and my commentary's a lot more screamy. And then he just let it go, and it was like, saw it back, and I was like, that's way better. But so bold. He didn't say, I don't know the exact time, he didn't say anything for like 10, 15 seconds. You know, genius. Like really like hyper-aware broadcasting. Really cool. Yeah.
Well, look, we're really grateful to have you. We want to protect you. You're one of us, Rob, so don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. We always say up the Spurs, so up the Spurs.
Good luck with the rest of the season and with the podcast, mate.
Thanks very much. Cheers, Rob.